The open-close curves command is a way for you to take a closed periodic curve and open it up, or to take a regular open curve and close it while making it periodic. Now, as a reminder, there is a difference between an open curve, a closed curve, and a periodic curve. An open curve would be something like this. You deal with these all the time. It's just a curve that has a designated start and end point that are in different locations. A closed curve, on the other hand, is a curve whose start and end points are in the exact same location. Like if I were to take the NCV of this curve and point snap it right here, this is technically a closed curve. Everybody's all closed off. A periodic curve would be like a primitive circle. And what makes this periodic is that the end segment of the curve actually overlays the beginning segment, almost like they're welded together. So there really is no exact start or end to it. I mean, there is. It would be right here. But what you have is the end segment actually lays over the beginning before it's all attached. So what you can do with the open-close curve command is basically make a curve into a periodic curve or open up a periodic curve. So for starters, let me create a CV curve, like so. And if I go to Edit Curves, Open Close Curves, we can open up the options for it. And we have three options when it comes to the shape of our curve. The first option is that we can choose to ignore the shape of the curve and basically try to just close it up without worrying about what it looked like. So we apply that, and boom. We close the curve up. You'll notice it is periodic, like so. And the shape of the curve has changed because Maya was told to ignore the shape. Basically, just close the curve at all costs. The default setting for this operation is Preserve. This is where Maya will either add or delete CVs in the curve to try to maintain the shape of the curve as best it can. So if I hit Apply, you'll see that the curve has an entirely different shape. In fact, let me do this. Let me bring my curve up. I'm going to switch on Keep Original, which by now you guys are all aware of what that's going to do. It's just going to keep my original curve when I run the operation. And let me go ahead and hit Apply with Ignore. And there we go. We've closed the curve while ignoring the original shape. Now I'll grab the curve, we'll move it over a little bit. This time we'll check Preserve and Apply. So now we've preserved the shape of the original curve, but we've added in some detail to go ahead and close it anyway. Now let's move that out of the way. And we can also blend. And what blend is going to do is try to create a continuity of the curve using a bias. Now let me go ahead and select our original curve, and we'll apply this. And you can see that a bias of 0.5 has kind of brought in both sides of the curve. And here's how this works. A bias of 0, my bad, is going to try to blend the curve closer toward the beginning, which you can see here. If I hit Apply, you'll notice that the curve is generally flowing more toward the beginning of the curve, like so. So it's like the beginning of the curve has more influence over the shape. If I set this to 1 and Apply, we're now flowing more toward the end of the curve. So notice that the end of the curve has more influence over the final shape of our closed curve. And if I set this right in the middle, go ahead and punch in 0.5, you'll see that we end up with something that goes right in between. It's like the center of the curve has more influence than either side. Now you can also choose to insert a knot into a curve. And what this is going to do is basically put in a knot that'll try to help maintain some of the curvature. It's only available when using blend. So if I go ahead and run like so, you can see that this is a little bit different than what we created a second ago. There's more definition here where the curve attaches because of that extra knot. You can also change the insert parameter, which is going to control how much influence that new knot has over the final shape. So if I crank this all the way up to 1, we're pulling in a lot tighter. And if I set this down to 0 or any negative number, it's going to have a lot less value there. So it's just a way to control, by adding a knot, how the curve is going to close up. Now, you don't have to use the open-close command, of course, just to close curves. As the name suggests, you can open curves with it. So let me switch this off. I'll reset all of my shape settings. In fact, let me go ahead and I'll leave these guys kind of sitting here. We'll do this with a circle, just to make things a little easier to understand. So we can open this up, and there it is with Ignore. We've ignored the original shape of the circle. We just opened it. We can preserve the original shape, like so. Notice that kind of blasted things back a little bit. And we can blend as well, which probably in this case will end up looking a lot like Preserve. All of the same rules apply. When you are opening, you probably won't need to insert knots and whatnot. Also, don't get confused between open curves and, closed curves and periodic curves. If you wanted to take this curve and make it no longer periodic but leave it closed, like let's say you want it to still look like a circle when you're done, you just want to be able to grab an end vertex, which you can't do because right now it's periodic. Remember that all you really need to do is select the area that you'd like to open up, like so with a curve point, and then detach the curve, which I'll just use with the shelf button. And boom, it still looks exactly like a circle, but now I have a distinct end vertex that I can pull, and notice my construction history affecting these here. But it's just a way for you to split a curve open. Well, actually, I guess kind of make a curve no longer periodic while letting it remain closed. Just sort of a quick tip. So that is going to wrap things up for the open close curve command. Thank you very much.